Hey everyone, it's Natalie. It's graduation week, and I have lots of parties to go to for my students. And our youngest is graduating from middle school. Hallelujah, headed to high school where I'll be teaching. I'm reminded daily of the importance of building a strong family. You know, when life gets hard, we lean on those we love and trust. And when that bond is strong, it makes those hard times so much easier. I talked last week about boundaries and how with our kids, those boundaries, they actually mean love. Even though the kids don't see it that way, they mean love. Today, I'm talking with author Arlene Pellicane, and she is a return guest. I'm so grateful for her incredible knowledge and advice. Her books include Parents Rising, 31 Days to a Happy Husband, and Calm, Cool, and Connected. She's the host of the Happy Home podcast and has been featured on The Today Show, Fox and Friends, Wall Street Journal, and many, many other programs. Today, we're going to discuss practical ways to build stronger families. And you know what? It starts with just the little things. I know you're going to love this conversation as much as I did. So thank you for being here today, for always supporting the podcast, and for being there for your own family. Make sure you subscribe here to the podcast and follow my Instagram page. I give lots of tips on faith, health, and family there every single day. Let's get started today with the podcast and my guest, Arlene Pellicane. Arlene, it's been, we think, 2 years since you first were on the podcast, and it's just always a pleasure.
It's so much fun to be with you again, Natalie. I know things go so quickly, and I'm so happy to be back.
Well, we have so many things to talk about, but I want to get right to what you specialize in. You have so much knowledge here, and my audience always wants to build stronger families.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that what we all want? Is our families to have deep connections and to get along, communicate, all those great things. But I want to ask you today about where we can start if we feel like our kids are all out there and they're not, maybe they're not communicating very well, or they're starting to do risky things. And let's talk about stronger families in general.
Yes. And, I think about my book, Parents Rising, that many times when things get tough, we're like, oh man. And we sink back, and it's not a guilt trip. I'm not trying to give you that, but we're just like, we don't know what to do. So we just do nothing because we just don't know where to start.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it for the strong family is just identifying, okay, what is one thing we could do this week and make it a small, doable thing that we could do to strengthen our family? Like, think of yourself if you're in bad health and you have to get into good health and you realize, oh my word, I have to revamp my diet, my exercise, everything, freak out. But where do you start? It's like, okay, let me just get a couple reps in. Like, let me take a walk around the block. Let me do 10 bicep curls and just call it a day, and it's the same way. Think of it like a muscle in a strong family, that if you are doing nothing, then it is like atrophying. Yeah. But if you are doing something, even those really small things, they are huge wins. So don't belittle the really small thing. So I think a very good place to start is the family meal time. So, I have a college age student and 2 high school students, and we have always had the rhythm of eating together. And if we don't eat together, that feels weird. Like, wait a minute, what happened? Why does someone have a test really late at night because we're not all sitting at the dinner table together? This is really strange. So we've very much made it a rhythm. And that, honestly, just that one small practice of, okay, someone's getting in late, so we need to have it a little bit later, or someone has to leave early, so we're going to need to eat at 4:45 today, or whatever it is, and make it the exception that you don't eat together. That is a very, very tangible way to strengthen your family around a meal. It could be breakfast. Maybe you think oh, we can't do it with the sports schedules and everything else. And it doesn't obviously have to be an elaborate breakfast, but it's just that everyone is sitting at 7:00 in the morning, eating their yogurt, cereal, whatever it is that they're throwing together, but you're together around the table and there are no screens present and you're making eye contact and you're talking to each other. And really, even if you will just say, oh my word, we've not done this, because I know so many families, loving families, intentional families, and they will say to me, Arlene, we are not eating meals at all together. It's just easier, like the kids eat, I put something in front of them and then I eat later on when I'm doing something different, and it's just easier this way. We've come into this. So honestly, that is the biggest win I think you can say is to go, okay, we're going to eat twice a week together. Then we're going to eat 3 times a week together. Then we're going to eat 5 times a week together, and get to the point where it's really this regular rhythm where you are sitting together. You're not all eating like one at the couch and one at the TV and one with the iPad, but you're really eating together, and start there. And you're really looking for, you don't have to sit and stare at your husband for 2 hours or stare at your child for 2 hours, but 10 minutes, 5
Yeah.
minutes of uninterrupted time where you say let's say you feel like, wow, this child and I are not getting along at all. Then you say, you know what, after dinner, let's just walk the dog together. Let's just take a walk around the block, just you and me. And this is not a lecture time. This is not a complaint time. This is not like I'm going to fix you time. This is just like, I just want to hear how are you doing? What's going on with you? And there's no criticism. You're just trying to find places to connect and have fun together. This, I think, is a huge thing, because sometimes we think, oh, I have to build a strong family. I've got to lecture them. I've got to like teach them things, and all those things are important. But that fun, like when they see you, you don't want them to think like, oh no, here they come, whether it's your spouse or your kids. You want them to have the feeling like, oh, I'm glad this family member is entering my airspace, because this means I'm going to have a good experience. Like I'm either going to be listened to, or I'm going to be understood, or I'm going to be given a correction that I really need. I don't like it at the time, but I really need it and it helped me, or we're going to have fun together. So I think an element we are missing is we're having fun alone. And by fun, I mean in very loose fun, that we're being entertained. We're watching things. We're on video games. We're on social media. We're escaping. So we're quote unquote having fun, but we're having it alone. So to strengthen the family, think of like, how can we have fun together? Like, how can we do something fun? My husband is kind of crazy. So he's in this cold plunge sauna phase. So we got a sauna in our backyard, and we literally, like, we all do it together. Like everybody goes in the sauna together. We just pack in there. Sometimes there's 4 of us, sometimes there's 5 of us. And it's funny. Like it is fun. So think of ways. It doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to have a sauna in your backyard, but you're going out to ice cream together, or that's expensive. So you say, oh, we're getting the half gallon at the grocery store, that we're going to each get a spoon and we're going to eat it in the park. But do things that are fun, board games, silly games, throw a Frisbee around, just take a walk, go to the beach, go somewhere scenic in your town.
Are you looking for ways to stay energized, healthy, and help your family stay healthy? I've started taking supplements from Seeking Health, and it has changed the game for me. I no longer worry that my family is getting enough of the vitamins we need, and I know the quality of what we're taking is top notch. I take an immunity support supplement, magnesium, and several others, including electrolytes, to stay hydrated. So many people ask me about these supplements that I've made it really easy for you to find right on my website, natalietysdal.com/favorites. Also, bonus, I have a coupon code to help you save 10% on your order. You will find that coupon code on the website as well. Go to natalietysdal.com/favorites, click on Seeking Health. I may earn a small commission if you purchase there, but that's just to help my small business grow, the website and the podcast, to keep this news and good interviews coming your way. Again, natalietysdal.com/favorites, and click on Seeking Health.
Do something for fun, and that will really strengthen your family, and make sure that screens are not involved in this fun, because there's screens enough everywhere else. So make this unique, that it's fun without screens.
You mentioned several things there that I want to talk a little bit more about. Number one was being intentional. And I find that it's so easy to it's so easy to come home and pick up the screen. That word's going to come up here again in a minute, or to just sit down and eat before everybody is there. But it takes, just like your analogy of working out, that it takes a plan. And that the being intentional is so important. And yet it's just a whole lot easier to not do that. But do you find then the plan is at the beginning of the week? Do you have to be that planned where you say, we're going to sit down Monday, Wednesday, Friday? That's the day we're all going to have dinner at 6:00. Like, does it have to be that scheduled to make it work in today's world?
And then this would be the question for you, the listener. if you just have a loose idea of it, will it happen? So the main
Right.
idea is at the end of the week, will it happen? And if you're like, oh, this is not working, then maybe, yes, it does mean that you need to look ahead in the schedule and think of it. This may feel hard, but it's very simple. Like, it's not like
Yeah.
super hard. It's just like, hey, let's just get dinner in. So then let's consider everyone's sports schedules
Yeah.
or whatever their music schedule is or what they do after school. And then let's consider the parents' schedule. And honestly, if you cannot find 2 to 3 times a week that you can do this, then that's another question, like, whoa,
It's time to
maybe
rethink.
we
Yeah.
are running around
Yeah.
too much and that we are catering. So
Yeah.
what are we losing? We're catering to sports or academics or service or whatever, but we
Mhm.
are sacrificing something. We're like, my word, we cannot even sit together as a family because we are this busy. So maybe that means on another level, we are too busy. So that means the
Mm.
next time around, you guys need to all, we need to take turns, and that teaches you something good.
Yeah.
Like, this doesn't work in this season. So I'm sorry, child of mine, you're going to have to give up basketball, but we'll give you football. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, we're
Right.
give and taking. Like, you can't have it all. Like, we all cannot do it all. So you pick a thing, I pick a thing, and let's make this work together. And then all of a sudden, what's the value then? Then the kids and the spouse and you realize, oh, our family is the value. It's
Mhm.
not running around like a crazy person and then it being done. And then our kids left our home and we said, all we did was drive them around
Right.
places, right? We
Yeah.
don't want that.
And
And yes.
talking about that stronger family,
Yeah.
if we're prioritizing everything else, and we all know the problem that we have with sports late at night, Sunday mornings, like
Yeah.
all these times when we would otherwise have family time, that you're going to have to give something up. And maybe that's a good lesson for our kids.
Yeah.
Of you're going to have to give something up because family is important to us.
And doesn't it true for as adults, right? We
Oh,
have
it's
to do that
true.
too. So the kids are kind of learning that along the way. So it is a good real world
Yeah.
kind of practice.
Okay, so mealtime, that's a
Yes.
huge one.
Yeah.
What are some others? And I want to specifically mention that one of the issues I have found and I hear people talk about is we open doors and we allow things, screens, Instagram accounts, whatever those things are, and then it's hard to close them.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
like you have opened that door, the kids have enjoyed it, and then it feels like, well, what have I done wrong, Mom? Nothing. It's just I want more of this. And it feels like punishment.
Yeah. So let me talk 2 ways of that. So if you are a parent listening and you have not given that thing yet, whether it's a phone, video game, access to social media, etc., you are always going to be better off delaying and saying one no, like, not yet, child of mine, and then be done with it, versus, wow, if I say yes, you think like, oh, they say, oh, if I don't have social media, I'm going to be so left out. I'm going to have all these problems because you don't give it to me. So you think in your mind, if I give my child social media, that will solve it. Like, that solves the problem. But no, you are exchanging now a whole host of problems where truly when your child gets social media, do they honestly come home and say, now I feel so included. Now I'm so happy. And now I'm so carefree. It's like, that's not how that turned out.
Yeah.
Any parent will tell you that's not how that turned out. So
Yeah.
if you haven't given it yet, then I really recommend, my book is Screen Kids. There's a new book out by social scientist Jonathan Haidt, The Anxious Generation, how the great rewiring of childhood is causing an epidemic in mental illness. And he is recommending, and this is a secular social psychologist, and he is saying, delay smartphones at least until high school and delay social media at least until age 16.
Yeah.
And if you are under the sound of my voice and you have not done those things and your kids are younger, then stay the course, because that will be the biggest thing,
Yeah.
the single most biggest thing you will do to keep your children and to have
Yeah.
a strong family. In the book, they talk about, like, if I'm Japanese and I come to America, if I come to America between ages 9 and 14, it's very likely that I will assimilate the culture and I will feel American. I will now, even though I was raised the first 9 years in Japan, I will come and I will feel American, because during my formative years of 9 to 14, I was immersed in American culture and I came out eating hamburgers and all this stuff, right? Well, what do we do as parents? We think, oh, they're 9, 10, 11, 12. I guess it's time to unleash the video games and the social media and the phones, and they're getting them earlier and earlier. And then we wonder what happened to our child. It's like they grew up on a different planet than the values that I've been pouring into you in these first 9 years. And we really have to realize, oh my goodness, we financed the thing that made our family not as strong as it could have been, that took my child away from my culture that I was trying to instill in them, the virtues I was trying to instill in them. I mean, look at what is TikTok going to tell your child? You know, the Wall Street Journal pretended to be a 13-year-old on TikTok and got 5 videos about drug use, paid pornography, vandalism to your school, self-harm, suicidal, being romanticized, all those things. That's what our kids are looking at. And for us to realize, no wonder they're growing up so sick and so far away from us. So really the key in that, to really have, if you want to make it a lot easier to have a strong family, then you're going to delay those devices until their brains are much more ready for them. Now, most people listening to the sound of my voice will be like, oh no,
I already did it.
I gave the phone. They're on Instagram. They're on Snapchat. They're going to hate me. And then it's like, you know what? As long as they're in your home, that you can say, child of mine, I was listening to this podcast with Miss Natalie and Miss Arlene, and they were talking about how your brain needs rest. You need good sleep. You know, you've been very irritable and annoyed because you haven't been sleeping well. And this is my fault, because I'm your parent and I let you have your phone in your bedroom overnight. And so I know you're going to hate me. You're going to think I'm the strictest mom ever. You're going to complain. Your friends, or you're going to say that your friends are going to hate you. All these things. I get it. And I'm really sorry, but it's my responsibility. And I'm collecting the phone at night. Thank you very much. So it's like, anticipate all the things your child is going to say.
Be ready.
And say it for them so that they're like, okay, I'm going to slam the door, but you already knew I was going to slam the door. I'm not going to talk to you for 3 days, but you already knew I wasn't going to talk to you about 3 days. You know, so get all that out. Beat them to the punch with all that. And then in your mind, be ready to take the big, you know, all the words and your child not being happy with you. Take it, because in a week, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, your kid's going to be like, oh, I actually feel a lot better, Mom. And I hate to say it, but thank you. You know, I just had a mom just, you know, literally before this interview say that her high school girl was like, why did you let me have this phone? Because now it's like, I'm never on a break and I have to always be on social media and always feel this way and always have anxiety. Why did you give me this phone? And my friend was just like, are you kidding me? I gave you this phone because you begged me to give me this phone. Like, we as parents, can we do nothing right? Like, we don't give it and you're unhappy. We give it and you're unhappy. You know?
That's right.
But let it be that lesson to us that, you know, the bar isn't like, is my child happy with me? That's not what you're going for. It is what is
a problem
best,
today,
right?
That
what
is
is best for my child. And I'm the parent, and you can hate me, child of mine, at this moment, but I will do what I can do to protect you. And when you're a young adult and you're 18 and you're on your own at college, or you're 21 and you're living in your apartment, you can watch this phone until your eyeballs fall out and I won't care. But while you are in my house, we're going to do things different. And I think a lot of parents, we just need to have that courage and the responsibility to say, I'm not going to blame big tech. I'm not going to blame the culture. I'm not going to blame anybody. I'm going to say, for me, these are the things I know to be healthy for my kids. And I'm willing to be an unpopular parent to have a strong family. And believe me, you just have to do that just have to do what's hard for a little bit. And then you will reap the benefits when your child is healthier, when they're more able to do things, when they're off the dopamine high, when they're off the digital drugs. They will be a much better person and they will say thank you.
This is just like your analogy for health. It's going to be hard for a little bit, but you are going to reap those benefits.
It's so true. It's so true.
It is so true.
Yeah.
Well, get through the hard stuff. Okay. So we've now said, time together as a family eating. We've said, hold off on the screens if you can, if you haven't already given them. And then pull back on them if you have given them. Take them out of the bedroom.
And maybe do
Limit the
something as a
time.
family. Say, hey, we're all going to not do video games
Mhm.
for 2 weeks. Or mom and dad, we won't do social media or like news. We'll take a fast with you. Like, if anything you can do together shows them that you understand their
Yes.
pain and that you work together as a family, working as a team. That's a good way to present that.
Yeah. Okay, give me one more. Stronger families in general. For me, it's I'll just give one, and then I know you
Yeah.
have a million others. It's praying together,
Yeah.
having that time where you really are in communication with God at the same time regularly. And that's not easy for a lot of families. Maybe that's not a regular thing in your family. But I tell my kids in high school, because some of them haven't grown up in faith fueled families, that it's a muscle. Like
It
it's
is.
it's a
Yes.
muscle you have to work to, and it gets easier. I had a student, when I asked him to pray for our class the other day, he said, I don't really know how to do that. And I said, it's okay, just a little one, and we'll start there.
Yeah. No, and I will echo that 100% to pray. I've been involved in a Moms in Prayer group, which is a nonprofit, and it's just 2 or more praying moms for your school. So someone praying over your school, praying over your children. And it makes a world of difference, like to pray for your child that's so angry and then come back the next week and say, wow, it was better this week. Like God is responding
Mm.
to our prayers. So pray for your children. Do not underestimate that power. That is so, so, so real. And I think, you asked for one more. I would say a lot of times we watch our kids do things. So whatever you can do together, like you play ping pong together, or we got a pool table so we could play pool together. Now, of course, it just sits there dormant. But, there was a time where we played pool together. So it's going to go through phases, but try to join in to do things together, not just observing your child, but doing something together. This could be serving. So we had, when our kids were in public elementary school, and we had favor with the school, and we ran an after school Bible club on Fridays. And in our Zenith, we had like over 100 kids in the gym. It was amazing. But our kids, as little, elementary school kids, they helped serve. We would tell them, like, you got to help us with the name tags, you got to help us with the tickets, you got to help us give out the prizes. And we'd go to the Dollar Tree and we'd pick up prizes together. So that idea of like serving other people together,
Yeah.
that strengthens you as a family. And then it gets in their DNA that they don't just like watch. They'll be like, oh,
Yeah.
how can I help? Or if,
Yeah.
if you're at someone's house, that they might say, how can I help you, to the host? Or if you're at a church and things need to be cleaned up, like chairs need to be set up, that you don't have to tell your kids, go set up some chairs and help out. They just
Yeah.
do it
Yeah.
because it's part of the DNA. So like doing things together, fun things together, and also some kind of service that is beyond yourself. Because what is today? Today is all about like, I have to make me happy.
Yeah.
And if I'm not happy, this must not be the right thing because
Yeah.
I am not happy. So I will quit this thing because I'm not happy. So we're so self-centered, and it makes us so miserable because we cannot, that's not the way to be happy. When you serve someone else, wow, that's how you get so happy. You feel so
Yeah.
like, I'm alive, I'm useful, So whether it's your kid is helping someone tutor, or your kid is helping like other little kids in a sport, or whatever your kid's interest is, like how can they serve with
Yeah.
that interest and really spend time with that? And then I think having other adults in your kid's life and really praying for those relationships. Like I have, my daughter wanted to learn how to ride horses. So we really prayed like, God, there's got to be someone in this world that could really use a little girl to help them around with their horses. And we found a person, and we found the perfect person that's like her grandpa, that has taught her how to ride. He's also an artist. So he's taught her how to sculpt. He's taught her all these things. And it's been such a life-giving friendship for both of them. And so look for people that aren't you, that are godly, good adults, because it goes both ways. It blesses that adult and it blesses your child. So that whole intergenerational thing, we're really losing that because the smartphone is just like you and your phone. It's just you and your technology.
Right.
And then you're afraid, you're stranger danger. Like, I can't talk to anybody, And for adults, we can't talk to that child because I think we're abusing them, So we've got to get past these things and obviously look for trusted adults, but really foster that. Look for intergenerational relationships in your church, in your school, in your neighborhood. neighborhood, because that's a facet we're really missing that will really help your child to grow up well.
Yeah. And these are
Because when they're not listening to you, right? Because you're their parent.
That's right.
They will listen to Miss Rebecca, Miss Kristen,
so
because
true.
it's someone else.
And these are things you can talk about around the dinner table.
Yeah.
How did you serve this week?
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah.
Arlene, thank you so much. I always learn so much and enjoy the time that we get to talk, and hope we can do it again soon.
Thank you so much, Natalie.